The Isle of Wight Zoo is home to 17 tigers, but that's soon to become 18. Over the last few days, animal manager Charlotte and general manager Greg have been in Florida rescuing 11-year-old male tiger Rambo.
Say hello. Rambo. Hey, we've come a long way to see you.
20 hours after leaving his home in the USA, Rambo has arrived in England, and he's on the last leg of his journey.
We are at the moment crossing the Solent and en route back to the zoo with Rambo on the boat just below us here. So yeah, it's been eventful. That's an understatement, and we're pretty glad actually that it's almost over.
He's doing pretty well. He's obviously, you know, a bit upset with some of the journey and taken it out on some of his box because that's, you know, what they do. But you know, not a problem, and he'll soon be settling in back home.
Just yesterday, the team didn't think that Rambo could make the journey. His travelling crate hadn't been made to UK specifications. That problem was easily fixed, but there's no quick solution to the plight of big cats in captivity in the US.
The good news is that we've taken one big cat out of several, well, tens of thousands of big cats that are left in, you know, dreadful situations in America, and most of that is due to the fact that the legislation in the States does not disallow people from keeping these sorts of animals in you know, over 50% of the states there. So, you know, you've got an epidemic of a problem basically, and we got a taste for that. One of the sanctuaries that we went to whilst we were there, you know, we're doing a really fantastic job, but as they said to us, they may turn away 300 animals a year that they can't cater for. So you see the scale of the problem. We'd love to be able to do more. We'd love to be able to take more of these animals that are desperately in need of a good home, ex-pets, ex-circus and so forth. But then obviously our responsibilities always lie with the animals that we've already brought into our care. So we just have to see how things go, and when there is an opening, then obviously we'll pursue it, and there's going to be no shortage of animals, you know, hoping, I guess, that they would come and be able to live with us.
In less than an hour's time, Rambo will arrive at the zoo, and his rehabilitation can begin. In many ways, tigers behave much like their domestic relatives. But in others, they're very different.
Tigers love to swim. They have this phenomenal thing about water. They're drawn to it. I mean, water is very, very important to their survival, even though they get a lot of moisture from the meat they eat. But if it's really warm, sort of you're facing sort of really hot temperatures of 36 up to 40, tigers like to submerge themselves in water and get really cooled down.
Tigers are very hardy animals. In the wild, their habitats range from the steamy jungles of India to the freezing wastes of Siberia. So a bit of English rain doesn't put them off either.
They love it. You know, it's quite amazing because, you know, we come to work, we wrap ourselves up in the best waterproofing material possible, and you let the cats out, and you can have torrential downpour, and they're out there either lying in it or playing in it.
But the cats don't have to wait for a downpour to enjoy a good soaking. On hot days, the keepers simply take a hose to their enclosure. Big cats are lazy, and in the heat they're even less active, so the water is a good way to encourage movement. White tigress Xena is particularly fond of water and immediately spots the spray. Xena only has one eye, and the sight in it isn't very good, so this is a perfect way for her to use her other senses. She can feel where the water is. And as usual with Xena, everything is tested by taste. Her sister Zia, on the other hand, isn't interested. She thinks of herself as a more upmarket cat, well above everyone else. Xena, however, is more than happy to muck around and get wet, but her play is quite gentle. Next door, Diamond's water hijinks reaches new heights. Tigers don't think like humans, and although we know he can't catch the spray, Diamond is sure that he can. In the heat, the cats need to stay cool. They do this by panting, but the cold water is a much easier way to cool off. Diamond loves to fool around, and trying to catch the jet stream will keep him happy for ages. At last, Rambo and the team have arrived at the zoo.
Home sweet home. Yeah, great to be back. Hopefully now everything goes smooth, and within half an hour he'll be cozying down on a nice straw bed somewhere.
Hang on, it's okay. Okay.
The first person keen to meet Rambo is the big cat's supervisor, Paul.
He looks really cool. He looks much smaller than the photographs, because in the photographs he looks like Chandru size. And like you look at him, it's like really small.
Rambo's journey took 20 hours, and apart from making a small peephole for himself, he seems to be taking it all in his stride.
He's coped really well. I mean, he's not had any sedatives, and that's quite normal if you're flying animals, and obviously they're at altitude, and the last thing you want to do is be giving them sedative because it means they can't regulate their body temperature properly. So he's, just by his own strength of character, I think, he's just actually been fine. We've been checking on him regularly and making sure that he's okay, and at the moment he just seems to be quite curious, actually, more than anything. He's relatively calm, so it makes our life easier, and obviously for Paul and for the team when they're rehabilitating him here, if he's not come here highly stressed, then obviously that makes their life a lot easier as well. So yeah, it's looking really positive at the moment.
15 staff have been called in to help move Rambo's box out of the van, and it's not going to be easy.
Because of the sheer size, and it's really awkward trying to get it out with machinery. We're having to put it out by hand to be able to get hold of it, really. It's as simple as that. It's not a very easy job when the whole thing weighs 1,300 pounds. So I'll leave them to that bit. I've had enough excitement for the last few days.
The crate now needs to be moved very carefully. Balance is the key, as Rambo could be moving about inside, and if it topples over, the consequences could be devastating.
There you go.
The door of the box will be lined up exactly with the entrance to Rambo's bedroom, allowing him easy access. But someone has to stay with the box and lift up the door.
I've got the short straw of actually letting him through, opening up the door, so hopefully he won't keep us in there too long and go straight through, then we can all go home and get some sleep.
In Florida, Rambo didn't have a bedroom, as the warm temperatures meant he could sleep outside. He's not used to going inside, so he's cautious about leaving his box.
Because Rambo's not being used to having a bedroom facility like this, so obviously it's a dark area for him. He can't really see anything at the end and to the side, so he's a little bit wary about that. He'll be fine. The guys are just going to get some meat at the moment so we can put some incentives in there for him. But this often happens actually, and when you open a door to a crate where an animal's been for a little while, you'd expect maybe the animal's going to bolt out. Often it isn't the case, because that's their security zone. So he would have formed a little comfort zone in there over the last hours that he's been in there, and now he's obviously not too happy about coming out. So we've got to wait a little while to get our sleep, and just let everything happen in its own time. That's always the key. If you don't do that, if you're not patient enough, then you risk obviously upsetting the animal and blowing your chances of having a good relationship with that animal. So it's of paramount importance, especially obviously Paul and the cat team that are going to be working closely with Rambo. He's got to associate them with something at least neutral to begin with, and certainly not anything negative. So yeah, we'll be basically just, waiting for him to tell us when he wants things to happen.
So I think you'll have to have it up and hold it up.
Yeah, I'm just going to put my hands, yeah?
Yeah.
Eventually, Rambo comes out. The first steps into his new life. Looking after big cats isn't easy. They're lazy and love to rest. But to ensure they're healthy, they must be kept active. Cats are motivated by food, so at the Isle of Wight Zoo, the keepers create what they call enrichment to encourage movement. The 22 big cats living here consume a massive 30 tons of meat every year. And horse is a particular favourite. But living at the far end of the zoo are 3 medium-sized cats called servals. They enjoy smaller prey. They're highly specialised rodent hunters.
We've got to spend some time with little guys as well, which is pretty vital, making sure that they get a little bit of exercise, a little bit of fun as well. So on a smaller scale, we're doing a bit of pole PT is what we do with the big cats, and that works pretty well with these guys.
In the wild, servals are active cats, so keeper Paul is tempting them with rabbit meat attached to a pole. It's one of their favourite foods, and the pole should make them work hard for their prize.
You're not putting the effort into it, are you? What is that? Hey, it's terrible. You're going to fight for it. That was useless, do you know that? Hey? Out of all the things you've done. Shingy. Shingy. Come over here. You know you want a gun.
Well, it may have been a very half-hearted attempt, but Shingy got her prize, and she's enjoying tucking in. But as big cats are so lazy, it's important they don't overeat. So the keepers have to come up with enrichment that doesn't always involve food. This is a Hessian sack for Jaguar Chiquita. It's filled with hay that's been soaked in men's aftershave. I know this might sound strange, but as well as food, cats are also motivated by scent.
Scents are very important to cats, and what they tend to do is when they go around marking their territory, they pick up on other scents as well. They're picking up other signs from cats, from their faeces and their urine. This is very important. It tells them important messages, who's actually passed that way. Then they know if there's somebody in their territory.
Chiquita immediately sees the sack and is instantly drawn to its unusual scent. She clearly likes the feel of the Hessian sack. It's a material she can really dig her claws into. Jaguars have an extra sense to us. It's a sort of cross between taste and smell, which they activate by opening their mouths and inhaling. It's known as the phlegm response. Chiquita is clearly taken with this smelly sack.
That was a really good result. Really pleased with that. 20 minutes is a very good result for working with a jaguar. Normally, we're not quite sure if you give them meat feeds and things, they don't spend very much time with the boxes that contain the meat. So we're very pleased because there was no meat used today. It was just the hay and the straw. So, yeah, very good result.
Now Chiquita's used a burst of energy, it's time to catch up with some much-needed rest. After napping during the day, the cats have plenty of energy conserved to get to grips with their evening feed. At the zoo, this usually takes place in their night dens, but tonight it's happening outside.
Well, tonight we're actually in Zina and Zia's enclosure. We are going to do a bit of enrichment. The reason is because, well, why should enrichment just take place during the day? Cats are notoriously crepuscular, which means that they do most of their hunting at night and that, so this is a really good chance for them to see just exactly how they move about. And it's going to be quite a sort of interesting experiment for us as well as the cats. It's something else, it's something new that they're doing. And if we can continuously do something that's new for the tigers, we're gonna create a much happier cat at the end of the day, and that's our ultimate aim.
Zia and Zina immediately smell the meat in their enclosure. Tigers' eyes are designed to maximise the absorption of natural light. This makes their sight 7 times better than ours. Night enrichment opens up a whole new world for the cats, and Zia's natural hunting instincts definitely kick in. Next morning, there's some terrible news about one of the female tigers.
Well, real shocker. Last night, Paul was putting the cats to bed, the routine in the evening of letting the cats into their night dens, and Natasha failed to come in. So when he took a closer look, he found her lying down on the side by one of the huts in the outdoor enclosure. Seemed to just be resting, was in a quite natural position to be resting, but very soon realised that there was just no response at all, and basically had found her dead.
Natasha's death has come as a complete shock to everyone. Charlotte and the team need to know how and why she died, so vet Ian Green is here to perform a post-mortem.
When we found it, there didn't seem to be any signs of struggle in the enclosure, like, sort of, she'd been, digging in the ground. It just
right,
like
so just laid down peacefully and gone. Nice. Okay. And previous days she'd been perfectly normal?
Yeah, she's eaten every day as well.
Right.
She's eaten her food every day without any problems, so she's taken that quite well.
Right. She's in good body condition here. Her gums look a little bit pale and her tongue looks a little bit blue. That could be for a variety of different reasons. One possible reason with her dying fairly suddenly could be if she'd bled out internally. But we'll find out in a moment.
Firstly, Ian will look at Natasha's internal organs. If there's nothing conclusive there, he'll have to look at the brain. At almost 16, Natasha was an elderly cat, and she had arthritis. It's very common in older cats, but she also had problems with slip discs in her back, which may have caused her premature arthritis. Natasha's mobility was improving, though.
We've been managing her very carefully. She's been responding really well to our treatment plan, and she has been, to all intents and purposes, a different cat this year. We've all been over the moon with her improvement.
The team are sure that Natasha's back problems wouldn't have caused her death, so Ian continues his investigation. He finds nothing in Natasha's abdomen, so he moves up to her chest area, and he wants to eliminate one possibility.
Just check that she didn't actually choke on anything.
As soon as you open that, Ian, all the lungs deflated.
Yeah.
With that indicator, it could be a blockage.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
She choked.
Jesus. My
She
God.
choked.
All that down the airway. Oh.
Basically found a large lump of meat that was halfway down her trachea and halfway down her esophagus. It had wrapped around in a kind of U-shaped bend. That really is bizarre. But yeah, I'm afraid she choked to death.
Of all possible causes of death, this was the last thing the team expected.
Yeah, what can you say? We didn't know what we were going to find, simple as that. You know, she had been perfectly healthy apart from that ongoing back troubles, but tragically they had been improving, and then it comes down to something as freak as a piece of meat. You know, obviously we're careful with the kind of meat that we feed them and the sizes of meat that we feed them. We wouldn't feed them a narrow, thin strip of meat. You know, that was a good size, normal piece of meat that we've been feeding for years. You know, we've fed thousands of times. And there was some reason why it didn't go down as it should have done. So it's a difficult one, you know, to deal with and get your mind around, really. It just takes time. It would be, you know, a little time for us to get used to the zoo without Natasha in it.
A team from the Isle of Wight Zoo, which rescues big cats, has arrived in Miami, Florida. They're here to bring male tiger Rambo back to the UK. But they have to wait 24 hours, so before they can collect the 11-year-old, they've headed north to see the work of Big Cat Rescue in Tampa. It's the world's largest sanctuary for rescued big cats.
The latest statistics are that there's more tigers in Florida and Texas than there are left in the wild. I mean, not only is that horribly sad, it's just how do you regulate that? How do you regulate these thousands of animals? And it's not just tigers, you know, it's also lions and cougars and leopards. The problem stems from the lack of a federal law that covers the entire country. Even if you do have strict laws in one state, it's very easy to drive to a neighboring state which may have laxer laws or no laws at all. So what we really need is a federal law that will encompass the entire country. And another big problem is the fact that there's an industry. These animals are only valuable for a very short time, and that's when they're young. That's when it's still safe to let people interact with them, get their photo taken, you know, possibly pet them, hold them. That's the only time they have any real value. So you're talking about an animal that would live 20 years in captivity, and the lifespan that they're useful is less than a year. So it's really an industry that has a high turnover. You've got to produce a high volume of animals to feed the industry.
This 45-acre sanctuary is home to 150 wild cats of 18 different species. The cats are confiscated from unusual situations all over the US.
We have the white tigress Zebu, and she came from a zoo that went out of business, and she does live with a male lion. And they were raised together. You know, you could speculate maybe they were going to try to make white ligers. A lot of places do try to crossbreed the two, and that is possible. When you're talking about genetics and saving these animals, that's just a ridiculous thing to do. But they're here. Cameron has had a vasectomy and Zebu has been spayed, so we have no chance of any ligers at Big Cat Rescue. But they do get along kind of well, which is sort of amazing because the tigers are solitary animals, and then when you have the lions that live in the prides and the big groups, they're sort of social, but they figure it out. I think they don't speak quite the same language some days, but they, for the most part, they get along very well.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad. We bought the British medicine.
You did, it's nice to hear you.
Great.
Charlotte and Greg's work in the UK is similar to the work done here at Big Cat Rescue.
They're at the hardcore end of things here in the States, rescuing cats from, you know, literally seconds away from being euthanized because they've been kept as pets. You know, and these guys are working religiously to try and take in as many cats as they possibly can. And a similar situation to ours, obviously we're all trying to help in a very messed up world basically, and educationally as well, to get the message across to people. That's what these guys are doing here, and yeah, just interesting to see how that corresponds to the work that we do really.
This week, Big Cat Rescue collected 4 new cats who've retired from a life as performers. The 2 lions and 2 tigers have all arrived with problems.
2 of these cats actually have collars on them, but these collars are too tight, and probably they were much younger when they were put on. So it's going to be a challenge for us to get these collars off. It's on the 2 cats that are the most afraid and probably the most difficult to get close to. So we don't want to just sedate them. We don't know their exact health and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a challenge to get close enough to be able to cut these collars off or get them off. We don't know how embedded they might be, but when you see the lioness, you can see how tight that collar actually is.
Many of the cats that arrive here are also overweight.
Of course, living in a domestic situation where the area is a lot smaller, the exercise is different and the diet is different because people don't generally have much of a clue on what to feed them when they're living indoors. So a lot of them are, a little bit more weighty than what we have, and also living in domestic situations, they have been declawed as well. So to make that safe for the people. So again, they can't exercise quite as much.
The team will now begin their journey south to rescue Rambo and take him back to the Tiger Sanctuary in England. The Big Cat Care team back on the Isle of Wight are on another mission. Just like domestic cats, tigers suffer from arthritis, and the older they are, the more of an issue it can become.
The thing is, for us at the zoo, it is common because we have a lot of elderly cats, so it does affect a large proportion of our population. But I think generally with any cat, be it lions or tigers, eventually they will get arthritis. So it's not a species specific. And as it is for us at the zoo, we've got 18 tigers, so we have a much bigger population. So we tend to think, well, wow, we've got a real problem here. But as it is, it mainly affects our elderly cats at the end of the day.
The oldest cat here is 15-year-old male Tsar. And today the keepers are beginning a care programme for his arthritis.
OK, first one there then, Paul. We're going to be putting some matting down, and it's basically going to be cushioning him when he sits in the night room. So it goes underneath his hay, so it acts like a bit of a springy surface for him.
2 months ago, Tsar was sedated for a medical examination. He was struggling with his mobility, and tests revealed advanced arthritis. Tsar was given food supplements to keep his joints supple, but he hasn't improved, so the decision's been made to put him on some stronger medication.
Ian, the vet's going to be darting him very shortly as well, just with a little bit of cartilage regeneration medicine. It's quite a new experimental thing. So when he has that done as well, it's all going to go as part of a big sort of overall care package for him, basically. A really extra comfy bed, as well as cartilage regeneration, which we're going to be doing on a weekly basis for him until things drastically improve.
Tsar will get 4 of these injections, which should begin to repair the cartilage damage caused by the arthritis.
He does still clearly struggle, particularly on cold, damp days. But on the other hand, he's not totally crippled. He's still mobile. He's still getting enjoyment from life. We just want to make sure that we keep that enjoyment at as high a level as possible for as long as possible.
This is basically, I think, it's just a trial at this stage to see how it's going to work with him, how it's going to affect him. And if it works, there's a good chance we're going to try it with the other cats that have got arthritis and see how it progresses from there.
More than 4,000 miles away from the zoo in Florida, Charlotte and Greg have finally arrived to meet male tiger Rambo.
Rambo, come on then.
The 11-year-old was rescued from a circus. He was bought by a British woman so she could ensure a more appropriate place for him to live in his retirement.
Hey, boy.
Rambo's new home will be the Isle of Wight Zoo, but in the meantime, he's had temporary refuge in South Florida. It's taken almost 18 months to organise Rambo's trip to the UK, so Charlotte is pleased to finally meet him.
Say hello. Rambo. Hey, we've come a long way to see you. Come on, boy. He's not actually quite as big as I thought he'd be, but he's a nice, friendly cat, coming up and chuffing, and seems quite relaxed. Obviously, he doesn't know what's about to happen. He appears to be in good health.
The man who looks after Rambo and the other big cats here has very limited resources. Both he and Rambo's owner don't want to be interviewed.
He has done his best. It's in a prime spot for hurricanes, and he was hit badly 2 years ago, and the funding isn't there. Government funding, it's not open to the public, so he's doing his best, but there could be a lot more done for these animals, really. And there's a lot of big cats here in areas which are really, really unsuitable, and the quality of life is pretty appalling, I imagine, for them. So it's a relief to move one out, but there are many more. It's a pity you can't help them all, really.
But there's a problem which could stop Rambo's move.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The team discovers that Rambo's transportation box has not been made to meet strict guidelines. Unless changes are made, Rambo isn't going anywhere.
It's supposed to have guillotine doors at both ends, not hinges, at both ends. That's the regulations, I'm afraid.
It's not just about making sure that all the air transport regulations are fulfilled and CITES regulations, but obviously it's got to be for us practically manageable when we get back to the zoo, which is why we also attach certain directives that said it needs to be built in a certain way so that we can actually get the cat safely to where it needs to be when we get back to our facility as well. Obviously, clock sticking in terms of what we can actually do in modifying these areas that are not quite suitable for what we'd like to see them.
I've got guidelines, it's my name that goes to court. So unless it's how we want it to be, this won't be going. Simple.
In Florida, the team from the Isle of Wight Zoo is facing problems with Tiger Rambo's transport box. It hasn't been built safely enough for his 20-hour journey to England.
I could do it, but it's going to be 2 o'clock in the morning before it's done. I tell you that right now. Because that side, I didn't even cut the wood out. The door is there.
Yeah.
You can cut it out with a jigsaw when you get there.
The man who's been looking after Rambo does not want to be interviewed. And he's reluctant to make the changes because he thinks that the box does follow US guidelines. The problem is, he isn't considering British regulations.
This wouldn't get me from Chester back to the Isle of Wight without someone nicking us for it. And that might be why there's a problem over here with cats being kept by people in their back garden, because the laws are so slack, whereas we don't have that because they're not. And that's the difference, I think. You've got this sort of thing going on, and that sort of behaviour I'm not really into, to be honest. I've come here to do, to help out and do a favour. I'm not really into this. I don't need this sort of I've just bloody flown here, for a 2-day trip to bring him back, not have a lecture on what I'm doing.
Normally, Rambo would be darted just once with sedative to get him safely into his travel box. Then he'd be released at the end of the journey through the box's sliding door. But his temporary carer is suggesting that he should be darted a second time when he arrives at the Isle of Wight Zoo and then carried into his enclosure. But too much sedative is dangerous, and Greg and Charlotte aren't happy.
You got enough drug to knock his ass out 4 more times afterwards because this is high potency. I spent $860 on these drugs.
Yeah, we've got drugs. It's just I wanted to avoid having to knock him out again after the journey.
That's the easiest part. Right after he gets there, you knock his ass out. When he wakes up, he's in a new enclosure.
I'm not listening to that.
But the CITES shows guillotine.
As long as you keep on and don't do what we want, then it won't be moving from this spot.
I would feel happier if we went ahead and tried to achieve what we could achieve on the different door mechanism, And then if there was a real issue with darting him and moving him the other end, you know, we don't know what state he's going to be in when he gets back after his travelling. And it might be that the vet would, you know, say that he's not happy to do that. That shows the solid on the outside.
After some persuasion, things begin to look a little bit more positive.
The latest is they're rushing down to the hardware store because that's just about to close. But the door where I wanted it originally, when he started being a bit awkward about it, he's now going to make. So it can go right into the bedroom. So we've been all around the houses in the last hour, but we're now back to where we wanted it to be in the first place, and he can now do it. Okay? Everyone's getting on at the moment. So.
It's now a race against time to get Rambo's box ready. Back at the Isle of Wight Zoo, keeper Helen has got a special treat for one of the tigresses. A feeder log. The wood has been drilled with holes and then filled with meat. The fire hose wrapped around it will give the big cat a good workout as she grips onto it whilst attacking the log. Last week, 10-year-old Lola moved home across the park. She was living in a quieter area of the zoo because when she first arrived from a circus, she was a very nervous cat. This is her first time in her new outside enclosure. There's lots to explore, but it's the feeder log that catches Lola's eye. When the other cats do this exercise, they tend to attack the log from below and try to pull it down. But Lola begins working out a different approach. So eventually, the log will remain completely in her grasp. Some meat falls out on the way, but she claims the main prize all for herself. In the wild, when a tiger makes a kill, it drags its prey away somewhere quiet. They eat as much as they want, sometimes bury it, and then return later when they're hungry again. Lola wants to drag off her prize, but she can't work out that the log is tethered at the top of the platform. The tigress is getting an excellent workout. She's had constant tension on her muscles and used dynamic force to lift the log. Big cats expend energy in short, sharp bursts, and this is what keeps them in top physical condition. And all the while, Lola has just one thing on her mind: taking the log off to her patch. But all of this brute force is not helping Lola drag off that prize.
Probably a primate would have traced the rope back, the thing that's preventing it, and maybe tried to attack the rope, or maybe trying to get the knot undone or something. But the tiger just didn't think in that sort of way. So that's very clear. It's a very good demonstration of how the tiger's brain works. They're mainly mobile battering rams that do everything with brute force. They are highly dexterous and very delicate when they need to be, but quite often the way they solve problems can be very different from other species, and even between the individual cats.
Lola has worked hard at this enrichment exercise, so it's only fair to help her out. The keepers put her back in her night den so they can go in and untie the log. And as expected, the tigress soon makes off with what's rightfully hers. back in Florida, and 6 hours of modifications have finally made Rambo's travelling box suitable for the journey back to England. Whilst he's still in his enclosure, he needs to be darted with sedative so he can be moved safely out into the box. But now it's dark. This is not going to be easy.
Maybe if we all move away from this corner, he might come to this corner and then... Come on, Rambo. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Come on.
Hold the light on the cat. I can't see it.
Rambo. Good boy.
Yeah.
The first shot missed, so a second dart is quickly prepared before Rambo becomes too agitated.
Rambolito, I'm coming again. It's all yours. Come on, baby.
You got it?
Just keep it up. Hold it up. Yeah, hold it up. I go slow. 1, 2, 3.
Need another hand.
Good. All right. Doc, reverse.
Make sure that side door's locked. Yeah, I'll do it.
Rambo is given an injection to reverse the sedative, but he may be sleepy for some time, and this should keep him calm as he's loaded into the transport van.
It's the early hours of the morning, about 3:30 in the morning, 6-hour drive ahead, but he's set off, so we're just about to head off too. The whole process has taken a ridiculous amount of time. You know, we've got it done, but really it could have been a lot smoother.
Rambo finally begins his 20-hour journey to England.